Well, hi, and thanks for joining me here in my shop. It's December 1st, oh my gosh, and the snow is flying outside, and we're going to get a big snowstorm all day today. So winter has come, and it's probably going to stay for the rest of the winter. We'll probably have snow on the ground until the spring now. So today I am going to experiment with this radio. I'm going to fool around with the alignment a little bit and see if I can overcome or improve over what I've done so far in the alignment. And what have I done? I followed the factory instructions verbatim and ended up with an okay result. But I'm suspicious that there's a little more to it because I could not get a peak out of the trimmer here, which is a common thing. This is the antenna trimmer, and no matter what you do with it, you can't get a peak. In fact, I left it cranked wide open, which is such a common thing. I'm going to pursue that interesting question with this radio. It's a fairly simple radio, so I hope I won't bend my brain cells too much on it while I look into it. But first, just put our Christmas tree up and had to get an extension cord and thought, oh, I know which one. I'm going to grab this old one here. This is one I acquired from my parents. My dad put this together, I'm sure, 25 years ago. Who knows? But I grabbed it. The reason I'm showing this to you is that if you're doing radio repairs and all that, you don't need to hear this next part. But if you're new to this, I dwell on this a little bit. Every time I get an old radio, they often come with a plug, the one on here. Like that. You need to examine these. So I decided, well, before I put this on the Christmas tree, I'll take a look at what my dad did. What did he do? One of those screws has no slot. Huh? So, sorry, Dad, I'm picking on you. My father passed away about, I guess it'd be 8-9 years ago now. He was pretty old. He was in his 90s, and that he had a good life, all that kind of stuff. But this is the kind of stuff I have to watch out for because he was a handy guy, a little bit. So what is this? This is a spike of some sort. He's just pounded in there on the wire, and it's not even clamping the wire down. Secondly, Dad, you should have had me instruct you on this. When the wire comes up the middle, the two wires that are in here come up the middle. They don't go straight to the screw. You want them to come out with insulation, come around this plug, around the prong rather, and reach the screw that way. And then you nip back the insulation to here, so it's all insulated here. That way, when you tug on the wire, you're pulling around here. And there's very little chance that any bare copper is going to make it into contact in the middle. But if you just bring it up through the middle and stick it straight to the screws, tug, 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 years go by, kids finish college now. Oh my gosh, look at that, he's working at Toronto Hydro. He's retired. Now what? Well, I think it's still okay, but the fact is, the wire will slip downwards and eventually the strands are going to contact each other in here. Also, the frayed strands, Dad, I'm sorry for picking on you so much here. Frayed strands can kind of poke out around the edge here. You grab this thing, hot diggity dog. So it's worth looking at this because you're fooling around with line voltage and line power in your house. Deeper in the radio, to some degree, you're a little safer. To some degree, a little safer. Okay, enough of that dwelling on it. Yeah, now, so how am I going to do this? I think I'm going to first try to x-ray this radio with a sweep generator and try to see where the various important and critical tuning elements are. Local oscillator, front end peak, stuff like that. See if we can see this stuff somehow. So let's see what I can come up with. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. The front end here has a resonant circuit, I guess you can call it, with this coiled antenna coil on the back of the radio, and the tuning capacitor. It's very hard to see, but it's right there. That's the trimmer. This is the trimmer that I turn all the way open, and I can't get a peak in here. That's what I'm kind of working on. So what I'm thinking is if I hook up a signal to the antenna from my signal generator, and a sweep signal, so the entire AM band is being swept. The signal is traveling from 500 kilohertz up to 1700 kilohertz, feed it in here. That signal will work against the coil and the capacitor just like any other signal coming in on the antenna, and I should be able to see the resonant point of this, which apparently doesn't line up with where the oscillator is sitting right now in the radio. That's what it would appear to me. There has to be a peak in here somewhere, I think. So I'm going to try to find it. So my thinking is I'll just, without even operating the radio, I just feed a signal into the antenna, get this thing resonating, and then try to see the resonance on my SDR. So let's see what happens with that. Okay, so what I've got here, I'm going to ignore this one. I think I'm going to remove this right now. This was another idea that I didn't go through on. So there's only two things. There's only one thing really connected to the antenna. My signal generator output is right on the antenna terminal back here, and I have a pickup coil. This thing here is nothing special about this. It's just a coil of wire here, just sitting right near this coil. And the objective is to see if we can see the front end tuning bump as the sweep goes by. And I got the sweep running full speed here. So let's take a look and see what we get on the SDR. So now some of this is just incidental noise signals and stuff like that. Why it's rising up over here, I don't really know for sure. It could just be SDR, who knows? All these little peaks, who knows what those are? Could just be stuff coming out of the SDR even, but it's probably noise in my shop. That's probably what that is. But what we're interested in, what is going on down here, because the radio is tuned, and I don't have the, I do have those little holes. So I'm tuning the radio to, I think it was 600. Now, when I did that, I wasn't looking, but you should have seen this move, this little tiny bump here. That is the front end resonance of the radio. Let me turn up the signal strength I'm putting into the radio. It's much more visible now. I've cranked it right up. Now this is jumping and wobbling all around because the SDR radio itself is trying to accommodate this signal. It's not built for this kind of thing. It has its own automatic level controls and stuff going on inside of it. And so that's why this is jumping up and down. If I could make it go faster, it might smooth out, but I can't make it go any faster. So just ignore the jumpiness. The primary message is, where is this peak? So if I click right on it here, let's see, 589. So now the pointer is sitting on top of the 600 kilohertz hole. So the radio should be trying to receive 600 kilohertz. If I aligned it properly, the local oscillator, which we can't see here, the radio's not switched on, by the way, the radio's not even powered. In order to see where the local oscillator is and then see how all this is adding up, I have to turn the radio on. And I don't think there's any reason why I can't. Just leave it exactly as it is and switch it on. Might be fun to watch on this screen, actually. Okay, let me do that. Just making sure I haven't got something stupid happening here. Well, as best I can, anyway. Okay, so we're going to put on the power here. Wait a minute, it's not on. Why is it not on? Maybe it's not switched on down here? Did it come on and I don't realize it? Okay, something funny is going on. What's happening here? Let me just flip back to the camera for a sec. Back where the action isn't. I turn this guy on. You see the voltage right at the outlet. 123 volts right at the outlet. Why didn't the radio come on? Oh, could be because I still have a tube unplugged. And these are series tubes. Okay, power off. So apparently you gotta apply power to your brain too if you're gonna make these things work. I usually apply coffee power in the morning. Maybe some cannabis in the morning. Maybe that would help. Okay, ready to start again. Let's try it again. Here we go. Oh, let's watch the SDR because it might be interesting. Now, the SDR is picking up signals right at the front of the radio here. Oh, I still don't have it on the screen. I have it on my screen, but not your screen. So, well, we'll just see what happens. Let me just flip this around here and get this right. There you are. And power. Here we go. Power's on. Okay. Let's watch that SDR. The little light bulb came on the radio, so I know it's working. Now this may show just no change whatsoever. Let me turn the volume up here so we can hear the radio on it. It's going to make kind of a buzzy sound, I imagine. You have to have a lot of patience with this radio. Holy smokes. Wow. Not a very nice sound. Hey, well, what's that thing in the middle? Where'd that come from? I was looking away from the SDR briefly. So I just turned the volume down on the radio. Okay, one of the things I like about doing this kind of stuff is when things show up that you just have absolutely no explanation for. It makes it all fun. So the radio is tuned to 600 kilohertz, and you can see quite clearly the peak where the red line is on the SDR. It's very clear. It's not quite at 600 though, is it? And that other thing, that could be my no, my sweep generator is sweeping all the way. Well, you can see where it's sweeping, right across up to 1800. What's that thing in the middle? Okay, so let's tune the radio and see what happens. Now, the radio's actually operating here. I don't want to forget that. So I'm tuning the radio. Both those things are moving. What's that thing up at 1900? Very curious indeed. I don't know what to say about any of those other two signals, but concentrating on the one around 600 kilohertz, the front end tuning, if I want this radio to tune 600, I'm watching the SDR and I'm moving it, so that peak is right around the 600 mark now. Let me just move this up. Yeah, so the red line's marking the peak at 600. The radio's tuned to 600. The pointer is no longer on the dot, but it's not far off the mark on the dot. Now we want to find the local oscillator. So if the radio is tuned to 600, the local oscillator should be 455 above it, 1055. So 1055 is right around here. So there is that thing. Is that the local oscillator? So I'm going to tune the radio now, and we'll see where it goes. So if that thing is moving, everything is moving. So let's see. Let me set the red line right on 1055. This is exactly where the local oscillator should be if I'm tuning 600. Now I'm going to make that little thing go right there. So the local oscillator is running at 1055 without a doubt. The radio is tuned for 600. So I'm looking at the dial front, and the pointer is right on top of the 600 hole, the mark on the dial. So clearly what we're seeing is everything's fine except the front end tuning is low. It's tuning 585 or something like that. So now I'm going to adjust the trimmer on the antenna section of the big tuning capacitor. Now, you just have to trust me on this. Okay, so I'm ready to turn it now. So I'm going to clamp it down very quickly. And the reason for doing it quickly is to make movement on the screen there that we can see. You can certainly see, especially in the waterfall part of the display. They've moved it to the left. But we don't want to go to the left, we want to go to the right. So I will loosen it up, loosen it up. This is exactly what I was doing. I loosen it up, and it just doesn't quite get there. Pretty darn close, eh? So now if I loosen it up anymore, the screw is going to fall out. Oh, that's a cat jumping up on my bench. Oh, Shadow. Now, you better just mind your own P's and Q's here. I can't keep an eye on you and everything else at the same time. So ignoring that weird thing in the middle, which I don't know what to say about yet. Watch out, cat. Somehow we have to get this thing to line up. I think what I should do, I should tune the radio. I should put the trimmer capacitor into a sort of a neutral or central position. So I'm going to tighten it down. This is the trimmer. I'm going to loosen it up like one turn. Now it's got range in both directions. Tighten up and loosen, or leave it. Now next thing I want to do is tune the radio itself until this front end peak is right on 600. Tune the radio itself so that peak is right on 600. So okay, so the peak is not very sharp here. Maybe if I reduce the signal coming in. Oh, that's really quite in. I really have this thing is so. I don't know. I'm pounding it with a heck of a signal. Let me turn down the volume. Cut back the signal here. Okay, volume down. Pretty exciting, eh, cat? She's having a thrill. So maybe I just had the radio so heavily overloaded that well, it's still producing something kind of weird there. No, it's not. That must be an effect of overloading something horribly. That thing that was up around a million hertz on the screen here. Okay, so getting back to what we're doing now, we're trying to tune this right on 600 by tuning the radio itself. You can see the local oscillator very clearly now. So this radio is now, the front end is tuned to 600. Now I got to make the local oscillator sit right on 1055. It's got to sit on this red line. So I'm going to move it with the other trimmer. Okay, moving the local oscillator to where it really should be. Tightening it, and tightening it, and tightening it, and tightening it. Easily get there. So now the local oscillator and the front end tuning agree. 600 is what this radio is trying to receive. What doesn't agree now is the pointer. But I can deal with the pointer later. Feeling pretty good about this. We should tune the radio to the other end and see how this is working out, because maybe the linearity is just terrible. So I'm tuning it up, 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 up. We'll go up to the other dot, the other mark. Okay, so we're on the other mark. We already know that this won't be correct now. So the other mark is at 1400. The front end tuning is peaking up around 1275. It's way off. The local oscillator is at this frequency here. So take away 455. Oh my god, that's a tough one. Where's my calculator? Come on. So we take 1774. 1774 minus 455. Oh, for crying out loud. Let's try that again. I can't even, yeah, I can't do it in my head. I can't do it by typing these keys either. 1774 minus 455 equals 1319. So the radio is attempting to receive 1319. The front, the oscillator's shooting for 1319. The front end is, 1319 would be about, well, be here. The actual peak is down here a little bit. There's not much to pick up at this end of the band. All the action's down here. As I'm in this area of the world, it's all down there. So I really want this thing to work good at the low end. Let's go down there again. To the low end we go. Okay, we'll stick the front end tuning on 600. I would say that's got it. I'll double check the local oscillator, which should be at 1055. Yeah, right into one. So tuned really well down here. Not so good up here, but you know what? The front end peak, well, I was going to say the front end peak stretches out. Yeah, this is a linear scale. It does. Here it's a sharper peak. Here it's a little more generous. So maybe a little lack of adjustment at the high end is not as critical as the low end. So I think this radio is properly aligned now. I think it can't work any better alignment wise than it does at this frequency. Let's find out. Let's find out. As you can see, my cat has decided to camp out. We'll turn down this signal. Actually, we'll take it right off. Okay, again, we're just working here in my shop with the indoor antenna. That's how I was picking the signal up. So as not to throw any circuits off by hooking equipment directly into the radio. Okay, let's tip this down so it looks normal. It's a little awkward here, isn't it, Shadow? So Shadow and my other cat Peanut are getting used to the idea that they're not going out much anymore. They look out the window, they see all the snow. They kind of know what all that means. Are we ready? So, right here at 600. So first possible station would be, let me move the pointer first before I make a mistake here. We know that this should be over top of this little registration hole here. So I'm going to clamp the string. I'm going to move the pointer. That's a beautifully aligned radio now. $590, just below here. Come on, man, do it for me. Antenna direction? It's much, much better. Okay. 610 in St. Catharines. Can we get it? Right in here. No, doesn't look like it. Wait a minute. Not down here. Okay, what do you think, Shadow? Shall we try 640? It's a terrible noise with it. $680. So we're about middle of the band, listening to a French station that I like to use to test radios. A lot of radios really have a trouble picking this one up. Maybe I know why now. A lot of radios that I've aligned, when I get to this stage, we cannot get a peak out of this trimmer. This is the front end antenna trimmer. And so you see what I've done here is I've forsaken the position of the pointer on the string. The pointer was in the factory setting and I've moved it off to achieve an alignment on an old radio. This is the issue. The old radio cannot align the same as it can when it comes out of the factory. Reason for that? I don't know exactly. I don't know. Variations in something. I don't know what it is. Maybe somebody does. So I'm going to vary this. I plan to put it back to where it is, just to see if tuning this will affect this particular station. Because I know as you go up band, right, the alignment gets worse and worse. Straight up screw. Better up here. Much better. Same thing, screw out. Is the signal to noise here getting better? I think so. Straight up. Let's bring it down to 600 here. This is 590. Virtually no difference. We know from looking at the SDR, it is making a difference. It is moving the tuning around, but not enough to make a difference on this signal. AVC could be active in this is active in the radio too. So as I move the signal up and down, it's compensating for that. It's a little tricky to hear. Little variations. So what should I do? Not much difference down here. A fair bit of difference up here. Let's go up there again and where was it? Where's the French station? Wish I knew what that sound is. Not always here. Okay, so open this up a bit. Wait a bit. $5.90. What happened? $600. I'm in the wrong spot. That's what happened. Okay. Now this is the more ideal for mid-band. How bad have I made it down where it is? Definitely a difference.
At this point, it comes down to Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes with a, I would say, not cabinet, but sizable lead for Patrick Mahomes. But what I'm going to say, can I just pause you here?
What is causing that noise? I have hunted for that noise repeatedly in my house. Never found it. It'll just go away suddenly. I don't know. There we are. I think that's a much better alignment job. I think I finessed the factory alignment. I've done it by using the SDR and using a sweep generator. By the way, if you don't have a sweep generator, because I don't think a lot of people would, if you have a simpler shop, noise itself can be seen being strengthened at the front end tuning point. If you fool around long enough, you can get your SDR to show you the strengthened noise at the tuning point of the front end of the radio. You don't even need the sweep generator. So much better. So this is a lesson I've been learning for the last, 7 years now? And I'm afraid I've let a lot of radios go through with that capacitor just open, because I've been working on the principle that you've got to have this on the right spot on the string, and you've got to have this pointing at the frequency correctly at that point. You must force the alignment to make the pointer read correctly when it's in the factory position on the string. Yeah, maybe you can do that when the radio comes out of the factory, but here we are, 60 years later, 40 years beyond its useful life, trying to do the same thing. I think the story is you just can't for a lot of these radios. Maybe something is happening with the antenna because of, I don't know, changes in the insulation here, maybe adding some capacity in here that wasn't there originally, capacitance rather. I don't know. But it sure seems like this is a much better approach. So I've managed to combine all these things I've been fooling around with, SDR and all this stuff, and get a really good practical use to all this kind of stuff. If you don't have an SDR, you don't have a screen, pretty tough to do this, I think. Yeah, SDR, very cheap. Mine, $25, the one I'm using. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. And I don't have the cabinet. I can't put the radio back in the cabinet. But it still has a couple of tears here I need to patch up, but I'll just do that after the fact. And this video has been so exciting. Look what's happened to my cat here. This is one of the most exciting videos. Look at him. Warm on the bench, I guess. So thanks a lot for watching.